Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. For our guest opponent, Colonel Michael Edward Boston, United States Air Force Reserves, retired, former NASA astronaut, and currently the Vice President and CEO of Texas A&M Law School. He will be accompanied by Mr. Richard Moxley, Chairman of the Marine Military Academy Board of Trustees, the Superintendent of the Marine Military Academy, Colonel Robert Hill, United States Marine Corps, retired. Colonel Folsom, members of the General H. M. Smith Foundation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board cadets, I would like to extend a warm and sincere welcome to all of you who have joined us tonight for this dinner to honor our new foundation members and Colonel Folsom. General Smith loved this academy and was the first person to leave a bequest. He expected the academy to grow and succeed, and we are fulfilling his dream. We as cadets are privileged to attend this school, thanks to most of those present here this evening. I thank you and promise that we will not let you down. Welcome to the Marine Military Academy.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the trustees and advisors of the Marine Military Academy, I'd like to welcome you here this evening. And I'd like to extend our sincere appreciation for your participation and your attendance this evening. It would not be possible for the Academy to do what we do without the support of generous donors like the people that we're honoring this evening and so many others of you who are in the room. So I want you to know how much we appreciate your support, your attendance, and appreciate you being here this evening. And with that, please enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much.
The General H. M. Smith Foundation is named after one of the most famed commanders in World War II in the Pacific Theater. General Smith was a staunch supporter of education and an early member of the Marine Military Academy Board of Trustees. The foundation was formed in 1970 as a means of expressing the Academy's gratitude for the extraordinary financial support given towards its growth and development. Throughout the years, we've recognized our most generous donors by inducting them or a designee into the foundation. This means a contribution of $100,000 or more. Tonight, we're honored to have a number of H. M. Smith Fellows here with us tonight. Would you please stand and be recognized? This year, we will induct 5 new fellows. The first recipient are Colonel Thomas Fox, United States Marine Corps retired, and Mrs. Elizabeth Fox. Colonel Fox served in the United States Marine Corps for 30 years and saw combat in World War II in Korea. He and Mrs. Fox began contributing to MMA in 1971, and following Colonel Fox's death in 1998, Mrs. Fox remained a loyal supporter of the Marine Military Academy. Colonel and Mrs. Fox continues to support the MMA today and our Corps cadets through a very generous bequest. It is an honor to induct them both as General H. M. Smith Fellows. Our next inductee is Colonel Donald Higginbotham, United States Marine Corps retired. Colonel Higginbotham was a native Texan. He attended the University of Texas in Austin, and he received a doctorate of jurisprudence and was commissioned as second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. Following basic school, he was assigned to the Staff Judge Advocate in the 1st Marine Division in Vietnam. Then Captain Higginbotham's philosophy was that he was a Marine officer first, an attorney second. He fought for and was given command of a reactionary company in the mission of protecting Hill 327, where the division headquarters was located. His reactionary company was a pickup team made up of cooks and clerks and motor transport and other support Marines assigned to the division headquarters. Captain Higginbotham knew that every Marine is a rifleman, and he trained and organized his company to be an effective fighting force. On the 30th of January 1968, they were subjected to the supreme test. The North Vietnamese launched the Tet Offensive, and enemy sappers attacked Hill 327 and were close to overrunning the division headquarters when Captain Higginbotham deployed his reactionary force and led a counterattack and threw the enemy back and secured the vital hill. For his actions, Captain Higginbotham was awarded the Legion of Merit for Combat V and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry. On his return to the States and separation from active duty, Captain Higginbotham remained in the Marine Corps Reserve and began a distinguished career as an attorney and as a judge. Colonel Higginbotham passed away on the 27th of January, 2018. He was a loyal supporter and generously named the Marine Military Academy as a beneficiary of his planned giving. It is an honor to induct Captain Higginbotham as a General Agent Smith Fellow. Cadets, please escort Mrs. Felicia Carlisle and Mr. Michael Davis to the stage. Our next inductee is Mr. Michael Davis. Mr. Davis has had an interesting and distinguished career. He enlisted in the United States Marine Corps in 1966. Following boot camp, he was designated an artilleryman and saw combat in Vietnam with the 3rd Battalion, 11th Marines. He was there from 1967 through 1969, which means he was there during the Tet Offensive. He was discharged in 1972, having attained the rank of sergeant. He obtained his Doctor of Jurisprudence in 1976 from Texas Tech University. Over his career, he has taught criminal law at the college level. He has been the sheriff of El Paso County, Texas. He has worked as a prosecutor and district attorney. And he has practiced both criminal and civil law. He is board certified and licensed to practice law at every level, to include before the United States Supreme Court. It is an honor to induct Mr. Michael Davis as a General Agent Smith Fellow. Cadets, please make the presentation. Inductee is Mrs. Felicia Carlisle. Mrs. Carlisle is a native Texan, and her family were pioneers in San Benito, Texas. Her great-grandfather built the first permanent home in San Benito. Her grandfather was the first principal. Her grandmother the first school teacher in San Benito. She attended San Benito High School, where she was the drum major of the mighty Greyhound Band. She attended the University of Arkansas, married her high school sweetheart Bill, and began a family and a career in education. In 1993, Mrs. Carlisle was a registrar at Harlingen High School. When the Marine Military Academy was indeed fortunate to lure her away. As a registrar for MMA, she is responsible for class scheduling. However, she does much more than that. She is an essential member of MMA's retention team, working closely with both cadets and parents. She is a sponsor of MMA's host program to a local elementary school, teaching young people how to read, and it may be even more importantly, teaching our cadets that to be a good citizen, you give back to your community. She is an active member of PEO Chapter L in San Benito and an active member of the Christian Fellowship Church. And she's the loving grandmother of Callie and Manny. It is an honor to induct Mrs. Felicia Carlisle as a General H. M. Smith Fellow. Cadets, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for the 2018 Their contribution to Able MMA to provide superior educational and leadership opportunities for our young men. At this time, I would like to invite our chairman of the MMA Board of Trustees and a Marine Military Academy alumnus to come up and introduce our distinguished guests.
It's a real privilege to introduce Colonel Fossum, our distinguished guest this evening. Colonel Fossum was born in South Dakota, but grew up in McAllen, Texas. As a young man, he was active in Boy Scouts, and he started his journey to exceptionalism by reaching the rank of Eagle Scout. This is something that only about 3% of Scouts achieve. He attended Texas A&M University, where he was a squadron commander in the Corps of Cadets. It was in College Station that he met his Aggie sweetheart, his lovely wife, Melanie, who's right here with us this evening. He graduated with a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. After serving at NASA Johnson Space Center, where he worked on space shuttle flight procedures, he completed the Air Force Test Pilot School and went on to fly 34 different aircraft types in his Air Force career. He then earned graduate degrees in system engineering and space science, worked for NASA as a systems engineer, and was selected by NASA for astronaut training. He's a veteran of 3 space missions, 2 space shuttle flights, and 1 tour of duty on the International Space Station. He logged more than 194 days in space, including 7 spacewalks, comprising more than 48 hours, and he was the first Aggie in space. In 2017, he retired from NASA and was selected as the Chief Operating Officer of Texas A&M Galveston and Vice President of Texas A&M University. He and his wife Melanie have 4 children and 4 grandchildren, and his main hobby is serving as a scoutmaster of a Boy Scout troop. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Colonel Mike Fossum.
Howdy. It's not much fun to have an astronaut come to talk if he doesn't ditch the suit coat and put on the life jacket. Don't you agree? Yeah, okay. Mayor Boswell, you've seen me do this before, but I'm not going to open up the Boy Scout uniform underneath tonight. No, what a cool opportunity for me to come down here. And for me, it's actually it's interesting. I was sitting this morning, of course, I grew up in McAllen, and when they talk about growing up in Boy Scouts, that was right here. And the center of our Boy Scouting universe was just north of Arlington, just outside the great metropolis of Rio Hondo, as we had Boy Scout Camp Charles F. Perry that's up there. So, you know, this is home for me, and it's great to be here. This morning, I had the opportunity to do something that I never thought I would. I guess I knew someday it would happen, but didn't know when. When an astronaut dies, we dedicate a tree in their memory at Johnson Space Center in Houston. And of course, Colonel Glenn, actually, he's in the same club as me, so I can call him John. You know, he passed away a couple of years ago, and they've been waiting for the right time with his family to do it. But that time was this morning. And so, you know, with the heritage of the Marines here at MMA, I was thinking this morning as we were standing there with some of his family members and many astronaut colleagues all the way from, you know, close to back in his day. Although, you know, there were men who walked on the moon that were there with us this morning, and there were the brand new baby astronauts who just started a year ago. But I was thinking of all the Marines, and you guys know, and some of you are, some of those really big people, the Marines that are renowned through military history. But if you think about the one Marine that the entire United States knows the name of, it's John Glenn. And what an amazing man, you know, he was. He epitomized everything that we hold dear: the honor, the courage, the commitment, the loyalty, the integrity, the selfless service. He lived his entire life in service. You know, he started off, he fought in World War II, later he fought more in Korea. The space program was new. It really started in 1957 in response to the Russians launching the first human-made object around the planet. And the first group of astronauts John Glenn was part of was selected in 1959. And I know for some of you that's really ancient history, but I was a little guy then. And he flew 3 years later as on Friendship 7. He became the third American to fly in space. He became the first American to orbit the planet. Short flight, a little over 4 hours. But that flight, you know, rang around the world and rings through it just echoes through history as how important it was, because we kind of start off behind to the Russians. But John Glenn it wasn't just the bravery of going out there and flying into space. And he was the first human to launch on an Atlas rocket. We were blowing up Atlas rockets just before that. This took an incredible amount of bravery to do that. You know, but there were two things that he demonstrated through that. One was the trust in the team that was working the rocket. And we're pretty convinced that it was time they were ready to do this, right? The second thing was he believed intensely in the mission. One of the things he was known for, one of the quotes that I don't have exactly memorized, but it was, to be happy and successful in life, find something you're so passionate about it, you're willing to die for it, and then give it everything you got. He did that with everything he did. He did it when he climbed on that, he demonstrated when he climbed on that rocket and became, you know, the first American to orbit the Earth. And he carried that same attitude with him when he left NASA in the early 60s. Was in business for a few years, and then he went in and served for 25 years in the Senate, where he was a passionate supporter all the things he believed in. He certainly was a great friend of NASA's, but he lived his life in honor all the way through and passion. And so what an amazing thing today to be there with his family as we sit there, put roses on a tree that now has a plaque with his name on it. And now I'm here talking to you, and I'm so impressed by a bunch of things here at MMA. First of all, the cadets. You guys are awesome. Okay, I've made several trips here through the years, and I've known, I sent one of my Boy Scouts from Houston, came down here to finish out high school a few years back. And the passion that you have, and how many different countries are represented here in our Cadet Corps? 13 different countries find your way here to the little South Texas border town of Harlingen to be part of this. The passion for the supporters, for the graduates, the supporters, the trustees of the MMA are amazing. Through this, you're changing lives, and because of the kind of growth that these young people have when they go out, and it's hard to imagine, although you've been around long enough, you do know what a difference it's made in people's lives as they've been so successful. I've been blessed. I grew up down here, just like a lot of the young people here. I didn't know for sure what I wanted to do. I had a very big dream in the back of my mind about flying in space that I didn't think would ever happen. And it was an impossible dream. I remember one night laying on my back on the shores of Falcon Lake on a Boy Scout camp out. The campfire died down and a million stars were just shining overhead, and I kind of said, yeah, I want to do that too. But it was an impossible dream. My dad didn't go to college. We were lower middle class like so many of us are here in the valley. But somehow that spark stayed alive even when people laughed at it. People told me that that's not possible. People from the valley don't do those kind of things. But I wouldn't let that light completely go out. When I left here to go to Texas A&M University, I knew I wanted to attend that school, and I didn't know how I was going to afford it because it was too expensive. The only way I could afford it was to join ROTC. Now, in high school, Mayor Boswell can vouch for this, I did not have a haircut like you cadets today. Okay, I had hair down to here. It was the 70s, okay? It's okay, you can laugh. It is kind of a funny image. But I walked in, and I had to figure out how to pay for school, and joining ROTC, joining the Cadet Corps in College Station was my ticket to a university or college education, and leaving enough family finances that my next brother could follow the next year. There was a bunch of very improbable things that happened through the years. First, planning to join the military. Contrary to a lot of you that have family histories of military, there's multiple generations before you. I had none that were in the military, no family history, and we have a lot of very, very recent memories of the Vietnam War that weren't so positive. But I said, if they're willing to give me a scholarship to help with my education, I'm willing to give them 4 years to pay back. And 4 years ended up being 30. And with a lot of twists and turns. And that's really the message especially for the young people. When I was your age, I had a big dream, and I had no idea how I was going to make it come true, or even if it was possible to make it come true. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. When I encountered calculus in college, I didn't know how I was going to get through that obstacle, over that wall. It took a couple of tries. It took a summer session in UT RGV, which used to be called Pan American, to kind of tuck my tail and come back. Eventually I graduated with a mechanical engineering degree, went into the Air Force, and there was a lot of twists and turns, through the Air Force until I actually was on loan to NASA in the early 80s. I'd only been in for a couple of years on active duty. They sent me to graduate school to get a master's degree. There's a bad joke, Aggie joke about inadequate education in there somewhere. So I was working down the hall from the astronauts, and that's when I realized they weren't that different from me or from you. Okay? They weren't that different. And some of them encouraged me, said, you can do this job. After talking to him more, he said, but you have to step up your game a little bit. Like, ouch, but I knew he was right. So, and then they encouraged me to apply to test pilot school, and I'm not a test pilot. It sounds confusing. I'm a flight test engineer. So I learned to fly in the back seat of jets and to conduct flight test programs. So I get the fun of, and the challenge of flying an aircraft, and also the technical challenge of putting the program together. It was wonderful. I'd never been in a small airplane before I got to test pilot school, but I was on fire. And when you have a real passion, when you're ready to give it everything you got, that's I'm talking to you. You can do amazing things you didn't think you could do. I graduated as the #1 engineer in my class because I knew that's what it was going to take to show excellence. That's what it was going to take to get a really good job coming out of there and eventually get a chance to apply to NASA to, you know, impress them. What I'd done up to then had not been very impressive. And I admit it, but I was really on fire, and I had that passion to succeed, that passion to excel, that passion to pursue excellence. And that's transformative. It changes your life when you really harness your energy to something that you believe in, no matter what it is, and you're willing to work that hard for it. It didn't become easy then, even still. It was from the time I submitted my first astronaut application until the time I was selected at age 40, 13 years had passed and 7 different astronaut selection cycles. I've been told no a lot, but I never, ever gave up. I took a few days to kick rocks as I walked in the desert after getting a call that, sorry Mike, you didn't make it this year, knowing that I didn't have a chance in another 2, 3, or 4 years. And I would look up at the night sky and ask why, and he'd say, you're not ready. And you may never be ready, but keep working. And so I did. Eventually it worked out. And I've been blessed beyond measure, but it was really the persistence, the grit, the willingness to keep going back and never quitting. You are never beat until you don't get back up. I didn't make that up, you've heard it before. But that's just the way I approached it. And that's the way I've approached life. I was blessed to fly 2 space shuttle missions. As an engineer at NASA, I helped design the space station. As an astronaut then on 2 space shuttle missions, I got to help build it as a spacewalker outside, putting the pieces together. 6.5 years ago, I launched on a Russian rocket from Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. That was a very different experience. We launched from the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin had used 50 years before us in April of 1961 when he became the first human in space. And what an adventure it was. By the way, in order to fly that mission, I had to learn to speak Russian. Okay, rocket science is easy. I don't know, that was a new trick. But that's what was necessary in order to do it. This time, after launching into space and docking with the space station, I served up there for almost half a year. That space station, the one I helped design, the one I helped build as a space shuttle spacewalker, that same space station, then I was the commander. Who'd think that a boy from the valley, a bulldog from McAllen, first flight in Texas Aggie in space would actually be the commander of the International Space Station. I couldn't believe it. But it's all really, it's a great team. It's a support of a family. My wife, Melanie, back here, she doesn't want to be pointed out, so we're going to make her. People ask, talk about the brave astronaut on the top of the rocket. How can you be brave enough to do that? Let me tell you what, the bravest people involved are not the ones on the top of the rocket. The bravest people are involved are the ones that are watching somebody they love on top of a bomb. So my wife and 4 kids, it's hard on them to do that. But that is part of the success too. Is a family that believed in me, cheered me along, and was willing, could go through it in a way a lot. Not just being in space for half a year, but away training and doing all the things. But back to what Colonel Glenn said, if you're passionate enough about it, if you really believe in it, if you believe in it so much you're willing to die doing it, then give it everything you got. You guys are all basically on your launch pad right here. Cadets, you're on your launch pad. From here, you're going to launch off to pursue your dreams, wherever they are, however audacious they may be. Your preparation is right here, because your watchwords, the values that you're learning here, of honor, courage, commitment, internalizing those transforms you and changes you forever. Those values can't be learned in a book. They can't be read and absorbed. They've got to be lived. The world is crying out for leaders that know how to live those values and be true to their values and their family. And it makes all the difference in the world. If you don't believe me, turn on the news. Turn on the news and see what kind of turmoil people without integrity, without loyalty, with no honor, just see how much they can mess things up. The world is crying out for you. I'm keeping an eye on you guys, and I'm cheering for you too, and look forward to watching and hearing about the great things in the years ahead. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a number of years, please take your seats. A number of years ago, the Board of Trustees established the Iwo Jima Leadership Award to recognize individuals who have made an outstanding and significant contribution to our country. The first recipient was the Honorable George Shultz, former Secretary of State. Other recipients include Stephen Bechtel, President of Bechtel Incorporated, Mr. Richard Fisher, former president of the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank, former United States Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson, former Texas Governor and current Secretary of Energy Rick Perry, General Conway, 34th Commandant of the Marine Corps, Texas Senator Ed Lucio, and former NFL star Vince Papale, to name a few. Tonight, we are honored to present the Iwo Jima Leadership Award to Colonel Mike Folsom for his outstanding contributions.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of the United States Air Force and remain standing for the playing of the Marines hymn. again, thank you very much for your support of the Marine Military Academy and to our Corps cadets. Please go forth and spread the word about the Marine Military Academy and about our cadets. I couldn't be prouder of them. Thank you and good night.